I can't tell if this is going to be a Yo It's Juggy video, so I'll probably, if you're seeing this, then I watched it through and I was like, you know what, this is good enough to stay in. I'm high, in case you can't tell, but I was just having a realization, and it bothers me. So, none of you people really know. And by the way, the reason why I'm wearing the coat is because I am high, because it's fucking cold now. But I wanted to say something that was like, that's opening up about myself because I was just realizing something. So, essentially, I've been noticing that I have inner dialogue, but in a way of not internal. It's like internal. It's like I have a me and then a me on the outside. And I talk to the me on the inside because the me on the inside just like observes and like has its little things about everything. And then the me on the outside just judges it all and just like passes whatever passes and stuff like that. It's a whole judgment system. The reason why this is important is because then I started to wonder. One of my biggest dreams in my life has been to have a best friend. One that fully agrees and is just there. And like just it's very like Disney-esque kind of bestie kind of thing that I've wanted for my whole life. And unfortunately I've never got it the way I want it. And I feel like maybe I'm wrong about, what I've gotten so far. But like that number one. And I'm like questioning if potentially I have my best friend inside of me because I have my inner dialogues whenever and then that's when I start to realize something. I've had imaginary best friends before. Sorry, one. His name was Secret Scientist because I was obsessed with scientists at the time. And I made this whole little guy. And then I was wondering if I started to wonder if I had a lonely childhood because I realized that I remember a lot of my childhood. I remember being relished in an imaginary world that I had created for myself. I I went through relationships. I was like doing naughty stuff. I was torturing people. I was fucking like I had different rooms for different fixations. I had this whole entire hierarchy around like businesses and employees and like just this whole entire fucking world. Like different locations, planets, things. I was in a void apparently. Like it was wild and all of it was just like me just literally just doing shit over and over because it's just sick. I would visualize battles and I would be doing questionable things, but it's like I start to realize just like how this was such a rich environment for myself. But like there was an active thing where people would like come by and I'm like, stop, like go away. I'm playing imagination. That's what I called it. I was like, this is imagination. I did that a lot. Like pretty much I would just be like, you know what, let's go play imagination and then I would find any location that was away from my family entirely. And what's funny is that every time I would think about talking about it, I was more worried about them like no, I would have, and I realized I would have talked about it being because it's like that's just a thing, but I was more worried about bothering people with the thought and info of it, so I wouldn't mention it, and so then I would never get insecure. I've never been insecure whenever I've like when somebody's like come up to me and been like they like I get caught or something, quote unquote. I was just thinking about this. Like, this is a whole thought process I had when I was younger, like really young, like probably around the ages of like 7 and fucking 13. Like, though that year range was like those big time years. And I was more worried about literally taking up people's time and being a burden about my fucking imaginary world. So I just kept it to myself, but then I would just kind of like shut up when people came by and be like, and then at some points I would be like, hey, could you like go, please? I'm playing imagination. Like, that was a big part of my childhood. I just remember that now because I had a whole system. It was like I would come home and then I would be playing entire wars and scenes and movies and fucking literally listening to music, all the fun things that I wanted to do during the day. I just made the fuck up daily. This was daily, by the way. I would visit to this place so often. I would do my thing, and immediately I would just leave, go outside, and just, or even inside, and just play imagination. I remember having systems, or not systems, but like, I specialized in the sound effects that I made. So I have a lot of training in my mouth now to make certain sound effects because I was just like, I already knew how to make everything. So I was just like, I'm just making shit. Like, this is just something that I did on a daily. And I've just been finding that wild. And then let's talk about my imaginary friend. I had a Kindle, I think, and it had some sort of little game on it, but it was about like it was a movie maker game. Man, I remember way too much. I sorry, I'm also partially high. I'm just like the fact that I remember that, and the fact that I realized that I was remembering that, made me remember about a time. Or no, it's just making me go, whoa, that was when I was really young, and now I'm freaking myself out because I'm like, whoa, I'm actually having so many memories from just when I was younger, and I'm just like resurfacing. Like, I remember them like the whole, like a whole movie in a book almost. Like, holy shit. Anyway, but this little guy, there was this game on a Kindle that I had, and that is a side comment for another time. Me, thank you. Anyway, so there's this little guy on there. He looked like he was a mad scientist as a character in this video game. And I actively was like, that's fucking cool as shit. I want to do a scientist thing like that. So I made myself, how tall was he? About 2.5 feet tall. And this little guy would have like little wrenches in his like long in his big coat and stuff like that. Just kind of put him wherever. And I would make like we would make things. Like, he would make shit for me. I would make shit for him. I got him some like boots so that he could like fly and then like go on my shoulder. And like there's just this whole thing. And like, yeah, no, I like there's also a lot of anger that I would feel. And I guess now I realize that my imagination was also a place to take my anger, because I would kill a lot of people because I would use guns in my imagination, and I would just like I would make machine gun sound effects, pistol sound effects, jet sound effects for some fucking reason. And then like, oh my god, now that I remember it, I probably practice sound effects around like, an intimate connection with someone, and like, fucking making out with them. Like, holy shit. Like, I would make all of that stuff. Like, I simulated everything. Then again, literally families. I'm pretty sure I may or may not have had witnessed when I was like 5, really fucking young. Maybe 6, actually. Hold on a minute. If I was to think about it. Yeah, no. It should have been like around 6, at the age of 6. I remember I had a death situation. I let someone die, apparently. There was just someone in my brain that had been like basically like a, I guess technically you could say, like, this is what someone who's religious would say. It was like almost like God, but wasn't. It was just this guy in apparently just like a leather jacket who would like, and I know for a fact this would be like when I'm asleep, but it wasn't like like there definitely wasn't somebody there. They disappeared. It was definitely a head thing. Like I did not. I'm just saying this for the sake if my parents watch this and they're like, you didn't have it. I know. Yeah, no, there wasn't anybody who came into the house or anything. I know that for a fact. It's just my head. I just imagined like this guy who has a leather jacket on just comes up and then he just hands me a pink cupcake. And then it'd just be like, I just kind of take it while he's doing his thing. And then he would just like go. I would have like sometimes a conversation with him, but then he would just kind of go. And at one time, I remember being in bed and having like a genuinely emotional moment where this guy is, oh my God, this reminds me as well. Because now I realize I've had 2 deaths. So basically, this guy, oh my God, this is so weird. I remember when I was younger, I would also think about how I would share this stuff and how I would think about it because it was so expensive. I think I remember I even wanted to try and talk about it with people potentially because it's so expansive. Like I just realized there's so much of my childhood that is like, what I was going to say was like, there was this, so there's this guy who died. He gave me the cupcake. There was a moment where I literally, through me, tried to help him not fall by holding his wrist, and I kept hold of it until finally they fell into a fucking careen of lava. Don't exactly know where the lava came from now that I think about it, because I remember where my brain was at and how it kind of progressed, but it just kind of bleh. But there was this culture that I had made, so let's just talk about it. This right here, it's now that I realize it, I remember seeing it when I was younger, of like this angle. You guys can all think this is weird. Go fuck yourselves. I don't give a shit. This shit was cool to me. But like basically, like this is what it kind of looked like more or less to me every day. But this, my friend, here, let's give him a little bit of a round of applause. This is Little Longneck. Was a good old pal of mine from about the ages of about 7 to about 11. Almost literally. So, this little guy is wonderful. Long neck, because long neck dinosaurs are cool, and we should have long necks, and I'm jealous that we don't have them. Then, you have his wings. They fly around, and they fucking, like, they do shit. And then also, they have a special power because speed is fucking sick. This little guy has super speed. So then it would just be like, I would just, like imagine that they're just zipping over to these places because it's just fast. It's just cool as shit. And there would be families. It would be like, this one's related, this one's related. Sometimes I think my siblings would even join in every now and then, not to have any shame or anything, but it's like, holy shit, there's a whole thing to it. So that was another portion. So it was like this plus my basically labs, because my whole persona at that point was just like, oh, I'm a scientist. I'm a person who wants to invent. I remember when I was younger, I got a big fixation on the robots from the movie Captain America and the World of Tomorrow. That movie, just resurrected a love for robots, which also made me think as well. As a tiny little update for the whole 6-month challenge, I actually was theorizing that if my YouTube stuff doesn't go well, I'm just gonna build a robot. I want to try doing that and try and see if I can beat Elon Musk in fucking building a robot and just learning how to do that. That's besides the point though. I was just thinking about that. But the whole place was a laboratory. So it was like a laboratory, and then sometimes I have portals or something or other, and it'd be like I'm here, and then I would go to like different places based off of fixation. So then it'd be like there'd be like a torture room, really rough one, but that was something that I did. I'm pretty sure it's because I had a lot of anger issues. That was how I like did all that. I would just kind of literally just like do the worst things imaginable. And so there's like that room, and then there would be a room for specific weapon testing or something like that. Little rooms where we can simulate things. I even had like I had a whole storyline to everything. Like number one, that's a whole system there of like I had a best friend. Then two, there was like, oh yeah, that's right. I had like I don't know if I've already said this from the beginning, but it's like there's a whole entire system of like businesses and like families and stuff. It was crazy. Anyway, but it's like I would have these little things, and then I would even have wars. I would have wars with different things that are in this world so that I could be number one. Like, I was just the one guy who just, like, was doing everything. I ran this whole fucking thing and was just traversing through to see how far I could get and take over the galaxy. I'm pretty Whoa, that's crazy actually. Because that was actually genuinely a storyline I basically had for myself for my entire childhood. Outside of everything, that was what I was doing in my free time. I was just in my imaginary world. And it's like, I'm just like realizing, holy shit. Because I remember there'd be mornings where I would get up, go outside whenever it was like a decent time. And then I would just start being like, you know what? I remember, actually, there's one weapon I really liked that was inspired by How to Train Your Dragon. And it was the idea of these two guns. One of them is a sparker, one of them is a gasoline gun. And considering the fact that those two elements cannot be um, like easily done within just a small chamber, I then chose to add a tube to the back of each of those guns that go into two tanks. The main tank being a gasoline tank, or no, like the flammable green gas, like in a tank, and then the other tank would be like lighter fluid or something like that. And so then I would literally have sessions where I would just but like just I would want to imagine doing all that shit to people. So I would just and then I would and then in case you can't tell, I'm starting to remember my sound effects a little bit. But it's just like you have this whole entire thing. And I remember just being so excited to like get the time to actually visit that little world. And then like I would even have rooms for like well actually it was a little bit strange. I had some fixations and other things to process. So my main thing was that I just straight up I had like sometimes like well sex rooms. I don't want to say stuff. I just don't want to like, maybe like do something crazy for kids or something like that. But it's like I had rooms for that. I would simulate. I swear there was one time at least where I actively imagined a girlfriend. Like that's something that I did. I just imagined. So in this whole thing, I've basically developed like theoretical like dads, and then like girlfriends, a best friend, like oh, like everything, and even like, whoa, that's weird. I actually remember that like there's also a couple characters that were just straight up like basically God for me, but it wasn't God. It was just my version of something. And now I'm wondering if I've adopted that whole thing, which was another thing I was thinking about the other day, but that's a different point in the whole conversation. But I had this whole entire journey like mapped out in my head, and I was like, "Oh yeah, there's progress here." Like literally that was my childhood was just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna fucking take over the universe. That was my imagination journey, was I was gonna take over the universe, and that I was just over my childhood slowly but percentagely taking it over entirely. I was excited. I was like getting excited to see where the trilogy would go, because I'm just like, holy shit, what am I going to accomplish? What battle am I going to beat? What crazy shit is going to be thought up? And it's crazy that all stopped, because even today I'll be like going, just generally living life, and then I'll just like all of a sudden just remember, oh yeah, secret scientist. What the fuck is that guy? I remember, I forgot if I mentioned it, but I remember I gave him boots so that he could like fly, but via like boosters, and then he could like sit on my shoulder, and then like the boots also had different like it would flip out, like it would just like kind of like replace itself with different materials in order to stay attached. It was wild, and I even would imagine playing Minecraft. Like I had a whole entire system of just like trying to simulate computer games in my head. That's fucking nuts. And I mean, as in, I would imagine the keyboard, the mouse, and actively doing things. You can't see my hands. Actively doing things in real life to simulate the game. Holy shit. I feel like I might be crazy, but that's like crazy in a way. Of like, that's what I was, as a little small child, I was actively just imagining holding a keyboard and mouse. I would use the WASD, I would use the clicker, and I would actively do things to feel like I was playing Minecraft. That was like 80% of my childhood, was this whole world and system entirely. That was it. That's nuts. I'm just thinking about that. Like that's crazy. I remember waking up every day. Like my childhood was literally like waking up every day and then just going into this world and playing for hours. Hours. I would imagine jets and stuff going over mountains. I would even This was even my free time whenever I was on a drive with my parents and we're going on a big trip, and I would just imagine me being cool as fuck outside the car on like a pterodactyl or some shit, or then even like a robot and doing a whole fight, but then the fight happens to just like, you know, follow us along because they're skidding along or something like that. But there's like a whole fight of like giant robots, or like me controlling a whole robot, this and that. Like I had like I just remember just thinking about all the vastness because I would have whole conversations and like go through dialogue and be like trying to make trajectories, like literally all these small little details. I just did them. And at this point, I also realized that I would literally I realized I would teach myself things. Like, or even to this day, I still think I feel like I teach myself things. But it's like, I would start to just understand physics and things like that based off of just simulations in my head. Like, I would just kind of, that's how I feel like I would learn fast, is because I just kind of know. Because I've just kind of like, my brain's just kind of theorized everything, just being like, okay, how would this work based off of this thing, and this thing, and now just I connect all the dots. I'm just like, whoa. Whoo. Anyway, but I was just like, holy shit, that like I'm just thinking about all this because this was my whole childhood. Outside of family, outside of friends, outside of everything, this was my world. I wake up every day and go into it. I had a whole like it was expansive, and I don't mean expensive. It's just expansive. Like there was a lot of stuff, and like then again, a timeline, a progression. I was like, oh, I'm gonna be the richest, and so I would just be like, cool, I have all the money, and then I'm like, cool, I can buy whatever I want, and then I'm like, oh wait, I can just build what I want. I would test out literally just limitations of certain things. Like, oh my God. And keep in mind, the things were all imaginary. It wasn't like I would like go to locations and use a stick. No, if I did anything, I did it all manually. So I never like grabbed a stick. I never used any props ever. Never. I just realized that that's a detail. I never used any props. It was all just me. I would hold everything. I would do the whole motions. I would like, I would hold the things like hold the things, whatever it is. I would do it all entirely. Just I would reload shit. I would fucking like pet things. Like I did everything. So I would have rifle. Like then again, that's like wild. Like I would just literally just be like, okay, cool guys, good stuff. Blah, fucking crazy. And then I would like, even like do different like, like I would imagine like, fucking like ammo flips and shit. Like holy shit. I find it funny that at the very beginning of this video, I was like, "Oh yeah, I don't want to say sex," but then 2 seconds later, I'm like saying shit and fuck and shit like that. But yeah, I was just like, "Holy fuck!" Yeah. Then again, high. I'm very much a bit high. Maybe even coming to the end of it. I don't know if my eyes show that because they're very much redder. But I've just been thinking about all that. Just like, holy shit, that's crazy. And then of course I'm high, and I'm like, my brain is going, oh, I should probably record this because this is very interesting to me. So I don't really care what everyone else thinks. It's interesting to me. I might as well study it. And then I was just like, I need to record a video about this just so I can talk about it because and especially if I publish it, then that's gonna be the biggest like opener for me because I realized I've never talked about this stuff, but this was my life when I was that young, between the ages of fucking like 6 and 8 and 9. And now I'm realizing I can just remember these dates because now I'm just remembering my childhood. I'm remembering where everything stood. I'm like starting to remember how everything went and up to now. Like I can kind of just remember almost everything. Like I could probably answer something. The only thing is like I'll just have to kind of visualize everything and then it's just there for some reason. I don't think that sentence made any sense actually. Doesn't really matter. The main point is that was just like the whole world, and then two, based off of my inner world, sometimes I would even have that influence drawings I made, or that was pretty much it actually, because that's the only way I could express it outside of just maybe mentioning to someone, hey, I have an imaginary world, which obviously never really happened a lot, and obviously I kind of moved away from it, but I was just thinking about this whole thing because that was my childhood, and I realized like I've been going through so much self discovery at this point about me, like realizing who I am and where I'm going and what my thoughts are, and now I'm just remembering just like how, or like at least in this process of realizations, I have started to discover about like realizing certain fuck certain things. What was I gonna say? Maybe if I look at the camera it'll trigger it. No, what was it? What was I gonna say? I had a brain fart. I'm having a high brain fart, so I'm like not remembering what I was gonna say. Dang it. Wait, no, I'm getting it. Hold on. Fuck. What was it? Okay, I looked over there. God damn it, you had a point. I had a point. It was so interesting as well. Fuck. It was really interesting. Wait. Okay, since I'm learning how to love myself, learning how to accept myself, I'm finally starting to let in a portion of me that I have definitely hid for my entire life around something that is very much a case of like, this was so me that like, I am now unlocking that from learning how to love myself, and that's opening up. Oh my fucking god, that took a while for that to click together. But yeah, like just the self love is just like trying to be like, oh, okay, oh yeah, I remember this is normal. Like this is something that you used to do, and I'm like, hold on a fucking minute, that's crazy, because I haven't thought about it for like 4 years until now. Whew. But anyway, I thought I might make a little like video. I was literally wondering if I was just going to record this so I could show it to some friends, or if I was going to publish this onto Yo It's Juggy, because then again, I don't really care what happens on on that channel, as long as I'm just publishing the fucking, like, 6-month challenge update. But like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. That's wild. At least wild to me. I don't know. Maybe other people just have their own things and they're absolutely like whatever. But it's like I remember my childhood decently well, especially when we traveled and I would like do a lot of things. I remember seeing a lot outside a lot. Like I never really like distracted myself a ton. I mean, I'd want to do that, but yeah. Anyway, that's I guess that's the whole thing here. I just thought I might make this video real quick because I don't know if I'm gonna publish it. Because if I do, then I guess cool. That's a new thing. That's something that might not be the most comfortable thing, but yeah. I'm forgetting what I just said, but yeah. Anyway, I just might make that update. All right. You guys have a lovely one. I'll talk to you later. Have a lovely.